Overtired. So tired. Overtired.
Hey, you're listening to Overtired. I am Brett Terpstra, and I am here with Christina Warren and Jeff Severance Gunsel. You guys have been carrying on without me. How's it going?
Good.
It's good. It's good to all be back again. It's been a few weeks.
I enjoyed your last episode without me. It was fun to edit.
Yeah.
Episode.
Yeah, that was weird. We're talking over one another. We're out of practice. No, that was great. It was great with our friend Brian. They are a delight. And once again, thank you, Jeff, for letting us nerd out for an inordinately long period of time about acapella.
It was a delight. I think the podcast tag should be, what is it now? It's like tech, pop culture, and acapella. But what is it? What is it now? I forget our tag.
I think it should be tech, Taylor Swift, and Jeff is a really good sport about whatever topic comes up.
Yeah.
No, I'm not a good sport. As I said to my son when he was annoyed with something I was pointing out, I said, you have to understand, fucking everything is interesting to me.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
I was gonna say,
like Jeff has a curiosity about literally anything that other people are interested in.
Yes.
Oh, that's good. Pathological curiosity. I love that. No, because you do. I love that about you. I mean, I'm also like very curious, but you're even more so than me. Like I will go down a rabbit hole on almost anything with anyone, even if it's something that I'm not that into. But you are like beyond me. Like, because there are some topics where I'm just like, my eyes will just glaze over. But like I've never seen you do that.
Well, and you know my eyes glaze over.
Oh, I know. Fast. Yeah, no. Look, I was not even bringing you into this. No, trust me. We record this with video, and or we can see one another. We don't record the video. I can see Brett's face, and it's those moments where I'm like, do I care?
Yeah, you can see Brett glaze.
You can, and then there are moments I'm like, do I care or do I want to finish my rant? And a lot of the times I'm just like, no, I'm gonna finish what I say because he's not listening, and it's fine.
That's awesome.
So Jeff has a hard out in a little over an hour, which I think we could do.
Yep.
I just took a ceremonial amount of mushrooms, so we'll see how interesting. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't.
Oh, fuck. Bummer.
I was gonna. No, I have literally like a 16th of mushrooms left, and I'm saving it for a rainy day.
Got it. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I just thought it was gonna be fun. I was like, damn, I'll go take an edible. Like we can just have like we can just like,
and we'll just see who kicks in first.
Who's kicks in first? Absolutely.
What topic are we on when it kicks in?
Right. It's like for me, you'll know. I'll just either get I get quieter. Honestly, I'll just be like, cool.
Yeah. Right.
All right.
Just become like ASMR.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So let's catch up on mental health. I would love to hear about you guys first.
Oh, I can go.
Okay.
But it's going to be improvisational.
Yeah, this isn't youth group. You can share whatever you like.
Wait, what does that mean? It's not youth group.
We used to have to like go
like Christian
around
youth group?
and testimonials and stuff. And like you'd go around the room and everyone would have to share like who they witnessed to this week and all that shit.
Oh,
and I realized I really 100%. And I really can't believe
wait. At this moment, Brett is maybe accidentally raising his hand in a praise motion.
Hallelujah. But I can't believe I missed the opportunity in high school to name my band Youth Group.
Oh, that's a good name.
So that everyone could tell their parents, oh, I'm going to youth group tonight.
Right.
And they could come see our show.
And instead of because of your show, that would have been so.
All right.
Yeah.
I made this about me real fast.
I like that a lot. Me. It's funny. If it were a few days ago, I would have had a lot to say, but then I had therapy. And so, and that helped calm a lot of things down.
You had actual mental health corner.
Yeah, actual mental health corner. I also just went through a phase where, so I have like, I think I've talked about this before, but I have nightmares pretty bad. And I've managed to like make them quite infrequent through therapy, initially through medication, but then stopped that and through therapy, which has been amazing. But I had one of those weeks where like, if I watch something, it becomes, in my dream, something like 40 times more terrible. Like if I watch something kind of terrible, or just stressful. So like I accidentally on TikTok got a really terrible 9/11 TikTok, just like a little VHS scene that someone had recorded, and that became this crazy ass dream. And then we're watching Bad Sisters again. I don't know if you watch that show, but it's so
Yes.
stressful and
Yes.
awesome. And so every time I used to watch Bad Sisters in season 1, I had nightmares. But I was like, I don't care. I love the show. Anyway, no, but I'm doing good today. I've had the place to myself for the weekend, and my kids are here, but my wife is out of town, so I've just been kind of like roaming around the house, and I'm now like doing actual like garage repair work. I'm like that will not go into this, but I'm replacing rotten soffits and fascia, and it's really exciting because it's the kind of thing I've never done. And anytime I'm doing something I've never done, I find it kind of thrilling. And then when it actually works, I find that I don't hate myself, and that's awesome. That's like a good way to come to not hating yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm good. Rotten wood. I had to clear out a squirrel nest today that I was pretty sure had dead babies in it because I had a squirrel war, and I had to close off
Ooh.
the soffit from this squirrel I was fighting with that would yell at me in my workshop. And I was made extra sure that there were babies in there before I shut it off. But man, a couple weeks later, it sure didn't smell good in that corner. And so today I like finally had the courage when I was ripping off the soffit and everything else to like clear it out. But I found a way to do it so I didn't have to see. I didn't have to see there was a massacre. I can't handle it. One animal dies in my garage every winter, and they all are like framed in the palace of my mind. That's all.
Yeah. Okay, so rotted wood should also be a band name. I'm just putting that
Rotted
out
wood,
there.
not
I
bad.
actually already decided to title this episode "Rotten Soffits." We'll see what else happens.
That's good. That's good.
But
I like
That's
it.
good.
That's what I got.
Okay, I'll go next. Okay, so first the
My
most
name's
important.
Christina,
Yeah,
and
I'm Christina, and I'm a Scorpio, and no. So most important thing for my mental health, and I think also going back to the roots of this podcast is that Taylor Swift got her master's back, and so this is very
yes,
important
her
to. I
the
mean,
recording's not her degree. Okay.
well, no, she has
yeah,
an honorary doctorate, so she's
Okay.
already that. But like, yeah, but she got her master's back, and so that means that like all of her first 6 original recordings, all the music videos, all the photographs, the concert films, demos, everything belonged to her. And the
Wow.
reports are that she paid in the $350 million range. So basically,
Jesus.
what they were sold to for the second time, they sold them back to her. Um, and which is great because essentially by doing the re-recording project, she devalued them enough that they didn't, get a massive premium,
Oh,
which they would have had otherwise.
was that an unintended consequence, or was that part of the
Oh no,
long
that was
game
the whole point. No, the whole point was absolutely
to
because she's the song.
devalue them?
Well, yeah, because she's the songwriter, so they can't do sync rights without her permission. So even though they owned the master recordings, they wouldn't be able to like license them to film or television without her permission. And she was like, no. And then she got half the royalties from the streaming stuff anyway.
Yeah.
So they were making like 30 million a year, but so was she off of just the other stuff. I still think they did her a kindness because they could have been juicing that for all it was worth. They could have been putting out DVDs, they could have been putting out books, they could have been licensing the photos for merch. Like her fans would have revolted. She would have made a big deal about it. But like, let's be honest, your aunt in Hot Topic is not going to know or care if the Taylor Swift shirt is licensed by Taylor Swift herself or if it's licensed by like Apollo Global. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're not going to care. So, or Shamrock Holdings or whatever it was called. So the fact
It's
that
not just
they
your aunt. That's me in Hot Topic.
right, but what I mean is, like, Swifties would know the difference between, like, the
Yes.
official merch and, like, like, licensed photos that she no longer had any ownership of stuff, like, I'm
Right.
just saying.
Yeah.
So, but, like, they could have made a lot more money off of this is what my point is, and so the fact that they
Yeah.
basically, like, made $100 million and, basically sold it for even money, I think is a kindness. So did she from her letter. But the only reason I'm mentioning this for mental health purposes is that, like, finally, like, I'm happy for Taylor and all, but, like, my national nightmare of having to pretend like the Taylor's versions, like, were anywhere near as good as the originals is
Oh.
over, and I
You
never
have the
really.
music you love and came to love of hers back in your life.
Well, okay, look, we were
Well, I mean,
talking
you
about
had it.
cults.
I know you had it in your
Yeah, well,
life.
no,
Yeah.
but here's the thing. I'm a huge Taylor fan, and like I'm like a Taylor shooter, as they would say, obviously. Um, there's no way in hell that you could pay me enough money to listen to like Style Taylor's version over the original because it was ruined. The new guitar bit, like the whole thing was just fucking ruined. And I paid for those albums. They were in my iTunes library. I also had physical copies. Fuck you if you think I'm gonna stream like the non-misogynistic version of Better Than Revenge. No, I'm gonna be like listening to the slut shaming version. That's it. But the thing is that I had to pretend in like polite company, like, you know, like it was one of those things like when I would tell people, "Oh yeah, I still listen to the old versions when I want to," and people were like, "Oh my god, you monster!" And I'm like, "Okay, now I don't have to pretend anymore." But more importantly, because I never really pretended that much. Like I think on this podcast, I was even pretty open. I was like, "Oh, I think the re-recordings are interesting, and some of the vocals sound better, but it's a different vibe and whatever." But some of them I was just flat out, I was like, "This is worse." But the big thing is that, like, they would only play, like, the Taylor's versions, like, on, like, radio and on, like, playlists and stuff, and
Yeah.
that's annoying because they're just to your point, they're not the ones you grew up with, like,
Yeah.
it's not the thing, and
And if you're a
so,
fan, and because I know that some of those differences are obviously so subtle and some are so glaring, but like if you're a
right.
fan, the subtle is not subtle.
No, and the thing is, I think for, like, people who came in and became, like, fans of hers, like, during the Eras Tour, and there were a lot of people that got into her that way, fair enough. You're not gonna really notice or care. But, like, if you've been spending, like, more than half your life listening to someone, like, come on,
Yeah. Yeah.
or close to half your life, whatever the math breakdown is, like, you know those songs and, like, you know every intonation. So I'm just glad that, like, for my mental health, that, like, my personal nightmare of having to ever worry about hearing Style Taylor's version on, like, a Spotify playlist or in a store somewhere is hopefully
Yeah.
gone because
Yes.
there's no reason that anyone should ever subject themselves to that. The vault tracks, different, right? Like, that was, like, a gift, and that was great, and, like, I'm glad we got All Too Well 10, and, like, she said she's not gonna re-record Reputation, which thank fuck, she would have ruined it. But we will get the vault tracks, which will be great, and she did apparently re-record the debut album. I would be interested in hearing how that sounds, versus 16 versus, like, almost 36. But whenever that happens, that'll be a fun thing to listen to. It'll be a fun deluxe edition for me to give her more money for. But, like, I don't I don't need to have it, like, in like, on the Delta playlist, which they still have, like, if this was a movie, Taylor's version on their playlist. And, like, honestly, that was a pretty good re-record, but it's still just a jarring thing where I'm like, "This voice is this voice is more mature than it was in
Yeah.
the year, 2009 or 2010." So, anyway.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Trump said that
Wait, whoa.
since
Yeah, he said that she's no longer hot.
no, since he said he hated Taylor, that she was no longer hot, and if we ignore that
Yep.
the Eras Tour also ended in that period, he was
Right.
right. 100% right.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, well, what's funny about this is that, like, she didn't go to the American Music Awards, and the fans, this is okay, this is genuinely the funniest thing, you guys might appreciate this. So, there's been all this criminology, and there's a joke that says that by Taylor buying back her masters, she prevented, millions of white women from joining QAnon, and it is true because these people were insane, including, like, people that I know. Some of my friends got really into this too, where they were looking for all these Easter eggs that clearly never existed about when she was going to drop Reputation, the re-record, because that album has become a cult classic. People really like it, and they were like, "Oh, she's going to go all out on this," and they would look into the how many emojis is she putting in, and oh, she's wearing this snake necklace, and so that must mean this is coming out. Like, it was getting like
Yeah.
genuinely QAnon shit, right?
Yeah.
And so she doesn't go to the American Music Awards because she didn't win anything, but also she's doesn't have anything to promote, and you only go to that award
Or to
show if you.
prove, for that matter.
Well, no, she has nothing to prove. She's got, like, the most of them that you can possibly get, and it's a ostensibly fan-voted award, but then they make it very clear we can change the results to be whatever the fuck we want them to be. It's one of those things. So, it's like a third-tier, like, music award show that you go to if you're trying to promote something, your label forces you, or you're, like, a D or E list, like, influencer. That's why you go. Taylor Swift's not going to that. But people were, like, convinced that last week they were like, "Oh, she's gonna go on Monday or whatever, she's gonna do this." And I was like, "No, she's not." Like, I told people in the Google Swifties chat, I was like, "No, she's not going. Of course she's
Yeah.
not." And everybody, "Oh, we look like clowns, she's not doing this." So the funniest possible thing is the fact that she admitted she hadn't even re-recorded a quarter of Reputation, and that like she didn't want to, and that she had really been like hit a wall with it. And she was like, "Yeah, sorry, that's not happening. I will give you like the bonus tracks if you want them, but like I'm not re-recording this." So like that's genuinely the funniest thing is that for like years, literal years, people have been like trying to figure out when is she going to drop Reputation, and like it was all in everyone's head. Like it's just it's incredibly funny. So yeah.
I like this bringing in fandom into mental health. Like this is a far more kind of a stupid version, but I every once in a while I get invested in a sports team, and I did this
Yeah.
year for almost an entire NBA season, and I am always struck by how when your team wins, you
Was it the
personally feel like
Timberwolves?
you've
Did
done
you get
something
the
right. Yeah.
Timberwolves?
When your team wins,
Nice.
you personally feel like you did something right. When they lose, you
Yes.
personally feel like. And here's what pisses me off is that like when they lost the conference playoffs last week, I felt for them. I felt for me. I felt like I
Yeah.
did something wrong. I could hardly look at them. But here's what I realized. I was saying this to my wife. I was like, they're gonna go home tonight to their fucking $30 million
Right.
homes. And
Right.
I am just going to stay in this bed I'm in now where I
Yep.
watch the game and feel shitty about myself and wake up and still be like, not quite as able to buy 3
Right.
meals a day as I want to.
Do you
Right.
do you
Right.
want to
Exactly.
hear?
Sorry,
So
I mean eating out. That was a weird, but I
No,
mean,
I got what
yeah,
you're
that was
saying.
a
Yeah.
weird.
so Elle has a small group of queer friends that adopted the wolf emoji and the blue heart emoji as their kind of like, they're also mostly neurodivergent, and it was kind of their way of saying, I love you, I feel you, I'm not going to respond right now. They would reply with just like a wolf and a blue heart.
But it's not.
Okay.
That's not a Timberwolves reference.
No,
Okay.
but when the Timberwolves
Oh
won
no.
last weekend, their whole feed, like all their text messages, their Facebook wall, everything was flooded with wolves and blue hearts. And
Very confusing.
and Elle thought of that as some weird synchronicity with the universe, not realizing Elle didn't even know that the Timberwolves was a team.
yeah.
Like, so they had to come to me, who knows just slightly more about sports than Elle does, to
There's
figure
been many
out
years when they're not a team.
what was going on. I was around when they became a team.
Acapella and sports and Taylor Swift and awesome.
Oh, are we a sports podcast now?
Yeah, that is the deepest I'm
yeah,
ever going to go.
Yeah, I was gonna say now we are actually, and we need to get to Brett, but like on a future episode, Jeff, I do actually want to like dig into like sports fandom with you, because I don't go to sports Twitter, but my friend Justin is like a diehard for so many sports, and he keeps me up to date on it. Like he and I, like, we share obsessions with like the various TV shows that lesbian Twitter is really into, because that's the best Twitter. And unfortunately, Twitter is just the best network for anything pop culture. Blue Sky, it doesn't have any fucking juice. And like, we're not even going to pretend that Threads and Mastodon exist in this conversation, because I'm sorry, but they don't.
Yeah.
But he will keep me up. Like he was sending me all kinds of memes from Paris last night when Paris won like the soccer championships or whatever, like the Premier League or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And like, he sends me all kinds of other stuff. So I know some things, but not a lot. But I would love to like hear more about how you got really into into the Timberwolves this
I have to
season.
scrub my algorithm on YouTube now, because it's only when the season's on that I want to watch highlights and press conferences. So I had to do the full cleaning you do where you're just like, not interested. For some reason, I have to say not interested to like corn videos about every 2 months. I don't like corn. I don't listen to corn. Brett, sorry.
Well,
I don't listen to corn. What are you talking about?
No, I'm saying sorry. You have a mental health update.
Yeah, you do. And we're talking
fine
about Maynard or whatever, but like, yeah.
Yeah.
Brett Bartholomew Aloysius Terpstra.
I have never told you my middle name. How did you?
Names. Yeah, I'm a great guesser. I can also guess your weight.
Do you know what my middle name actually is?
No.
Paul?
It's Marine.
Marine? What the fuck? Really?
It's Marine with 2 R's, which was I think my great-grandfather's first name.
Okay.
And it means man from around the water. My first name means man from the Isles of Britain, and my last name means man from the man-made hills in
You are such a man.
Friesland.
So you're just a
So
Wait,
man.
wait,
Like
wait,
I
wait,
get
wait.
in the hills
around.
Man
and the
from the
water.
man-made. That's high. That's very specific.
Well, family from the man-made hills. So like a terp is the opposite of a dike.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't
Well,
gonna
That's what
say
you
not
it.
said.
it
That's
kind of.
not. We don't say that.
I get that a lot, but um, like they were like man-made hills that cities were built on in areas that were prone to flooding, I think.
Yeah.
So a terp, and terpstra means from the terps if you're Dutch. And so yeah, I just have a well-traveled name. But
Man,
Aloysius, I could go
is
for
there
that.
some name that could be like man from the text editor in his basement?
Hmm.
You could
Tech-
you could add that to the
Textmate-
family.
Textra.
Textra.
There you yeah.
There it is.
It's right there.
All right, Marine, you go.
All right. So I can't remember where I was last time I was on, but I have been let go from Oracle. I have spent the last month sending out job applications. I got a bite from Shopify, and they put me through 3 hours of interviews and had me spend 2 hours on a writing assignment. So we're looking at 5 hours invested before they said, "Oh, we've decided to move forward with other candidates."
Mhm.
And that was so tiring emotionally that I have taken a couple days off before I start sending resumes out again. But it took me 30 resumes to get one hit. And for some of those resumes, I had like referrals within the organization.
Yeah.
And even then, I couldn't get
Wow.
an interview. So despite the fact that LinkedIn is chock full of jobs I'm qualified for, getting an interview is difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I am heavily weighing my options as an independent developer. I have
Which should have made you rich. Not literally, but you shouldn't have to, you should want for nothing given the quality of your work.
hey, thank you. But I also am a horrible business person.
Yeah, well,
and
that
I-
goes along with
And I give so much away for free. And
Right.
but
you're
I've
punk
been-
rock damaged. I think that's Ted Leo's term. You're punk rock damaged. You give everything away for free or you feel guilty.
Yeah, right. But I'm looking at like how I can like kind of revamp my stable of apps to actually pay out. Getting like NV Ultra out the door. I have a version 3 of Marked that is well, it was 90% finished, and then I'll tell you about it in a second. But and I'm gonna put that out as like a subscription pricing, and I think even if I were to get another job, I could turn all of this passive income into like a second income.
Yeah.
But if I decide I don't like interviewing and working for corporations, which
What's not to like?
feels like super possible right now, that I figured out ways that I can have a 401k, I can have health insurance, I can have like group rates on health insurance
Yeah.
and get like okay, so side note, in the Affordable Care Act, there's a carve out for religious institutions. Do you know about
Mhm.
this?
I've heard about this, but I don't know what the details are.
Are you back in the church?
I was gonna say,
No.
start a church.
No. You don't have to be religious. It's kind of it's a back door. If you know about it, religious organizations are allowed to negotiate these group rates for better insurance. And the problem with a
Oh.
lot of them is for anything major, it's full coverage. For anything minor, you often pay out of pocket, and then they negotiate directly with the provider
Right.
and then pay you back. So it's not as convenient as regular health insurance, but
Right.
in many
You-
cases, it's
you pay
better
upfront, but-
than
Right.
it's
You pay
better
upfront,
than
but then
what
they're
you
gonna
can
give you
get
a
on
refund
on the marketplace. Yep. So like there are options out there, and right now I'm on Minnesota's Medicare, basically medical aid. which is
A great program. Minnesota's the best.
for people with zero reportable income, which is where I'm at the moment. And then if I start getting income, I can switch to MNsure. Yeah,
Also a great program.
Minnesota's a decent place to be broke.
Yep.
We have our homeless problems. We have, we have homeless policy problems, but like if you are broke and you need health insurance, I feel pretty safe being in Minnesota. So, no complaints there. But anyway, what do you want to know? I feel like that's my mental health in a nutshell.
What do you want to know about Mark or about you?
Oh, I don't care. I'll talk about anything
I have a
before these
question.
shrooms kick in.
I have a question about applying for jobs because I have a colleague who does in the neighborhood of the work I do. I mean, he's a co-owner of the business, but he does far more like traditional evaluation, and I'm, as always, just kind of a weirdo with a backpack in the corner making shit up. But he's been applying for jobs, and he has applied for so many jobs and has not heard back from a single one of them. This is an extremely competent person with a long history of, demonstrable history of work, of good work. He's struggled with the fact that there's a clear sort of AI filtering.
Yes.
And so then he's trying to figure out, like, do I use AI to match
Yes.
what I assume is the AI filtering?
Yes.
There's all this shit. And Brett, then I hear you talking again, obviously demonstrably capable person in the area that you're applying, and all areas, Brett, let's be honest. I realize it started to sound like I was saying you're just competent there, but let's just be clear. So do you get the sense, are you even hearing anything back when you're not getting an interview?
I'm 2 out of 30 I heard immediately, like, clearly AI generated, your resume doesn't fit
Yep.
what we're looking
Yeah.
for.
Yeah.
But 28 of those, not a peep. Nothing.
Yeah.
I didn't even get a confirmation that they had received my resume.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I got a confirmation from Apple that they had received my resume and that if I were a fit, a recruiter would be in touch, but then nothing.
Then nothing.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think AI is detrimental, and if you don't use it properly, I don't think you get a job anymore.
And is part of this, and Christina, I bet you would know some of this too, is part of this that AI has also made it easy for many, many, many more people to apply for a job than they would have?
Yes and no. This whole like recruiting thing started long before the AI stuff. In terms of the automatically filtering stuff out, because on the hiring side, I dealt with things where if somebody didn't fill out and didn't like show like all the requirements that were on a certain job, like if they didn't check every box, like I fit all these requirements or whatever, then they would automatically be given, from Greenhouse or whatever the system would be, a rejection notice. Even people that we were actively like wanting to get their like resume into the system because we were purposely recruiting them, there could be things that could break down in the system that would come down. And then at big companies, referrals can work and not work in certain ways. Like in some cases, it will actually guarantee that a recruiter will give you a call and do a preliminary call and see if you're a fit. But that's not a guarantee because some places will claim, oh, well, because we have federal contracts, then we can't technically take anything that will be preferential from anyone, even if it's literally us asking our employees to refer people internally, we can't take that as a signal. So you have to really, in a lot of cases, if you issue a referral, you really need to know the hiring manager and then be able to advocate for the person directly. But the thing is that doesn't scale, and we don't all know the hiring managers for jobs that we see at companies that have hundreds of thousands of employees. So it's shitty. AI has made it worse for sure because the systems can now go through much faster than the older algorithms were, which were already doing the same things. In terms of if more people are submitting that way, there have been a number of, I guess, kind of local projects where people will kind of spam, um, like job applications using AI to basically write the cover letters and maybe, rework the resumes and whatnot based on the skills that you insert. There have been some takedown notices for some of them. I think some are trying to maybe, pivot into more paid services and whatnot. I don't know how much that is actively being used in terms of sending in bulk, but I do feel like at this point, if it were me, if I were like actively looking for a job, I would absolutely be trying to use the AI against itself, right? I would absolutely be trying to optimize my cover letter, my resume, everything
Yeah.
against
So I
that.
did that. I
Yeah.
optimized, and I would do it per application too.
Yes.
I would copy in the job requirements and the whole nice to have section, and then copy in my current resume and tell it to tailor it. And I would use that. And I sent
Yeah.
out a bunch
Yeah.
of tailored cover
And that
letters and
can work or it
resumes.
can't work. Yeah. What I will say, and I don't know if this will help like either of you, but might be something to point out to your friend. The years of experience thing is unfortunately, even though it's illegal, like one of the few labor protections that we have in this country is supposed to be around like ageism. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Limit how far back you go in
Oh,
terms of your
whoa.
resume. Yeah, like I'm being freaking real. Like I would do this myself. Like I wouldn't I would like at a certain point this where it kind of becomes a problem if you've worked at places for really long periods of time. Like a friend of mine, Microsoft laid off a bunch of people and he's been there for 19 years. And that is going to be hard for him to be able to like
Yeah.
fudge on a resume, right?
Right.
But in general, like drop things from before a certain period of time because ageism it's not supposed to be legal, but companies, recruiters, whatnot, they will look at that. And so dropping the
Interesting.
amount of years of experience is one of the things that I hear from people, from recruiters and from like that just advice that I would give to others. Like it doesn't actually work in your favor the way that it should, because the way that recruiters potentially see it or employers is like, oh, this person is going to cost me more money, not this person is going to be more valuable. And so that can like fuck you from even getting into the conversation. The job market is so shitty right now. I have a lot of friends who are going through this, and so I really, feel for you, Brett. And like, it has nothing to do with you. Like, that's the thing. Like, and then the interview process itself, you're not wrong. Like, many times you have the take homes, and you have like the systems design interviews, and you have like a lot of work that goes into it. And some places will pay you for that, but most won't. And you know, 4 or 5 years ago, things were different and people were actively trying to recruit talent for tech jobs. Now they're not. And
Yeah.
so like the amount of money that they will, put out for recruitment in terms of like if they in the past, like sometimes some places would pay people like a small like hourly wage to go through the testing process, like that's all out the window because they know that people want the jobs. It's really shitty.
So the Shopify one I got pretty excited about because not only was I 100% qualified for the position, like there were some things I've applied for that I'm like, I could pick it up. I could learn
Right.
this. But the Shopify one, I mean,
Totally up your
Shopify is
alley.
written in Ruby for
I was gonna
fuck's sake.
say, yeah.
Oh
And
man.
it's
Yeah.
written in Ruby. And like I was applying for the docs team, writing API docs for
Yep.
developers, working with Ruby interfaces, using static blog generating systems based on
Right.
Liquid, which Shopify invented, and like all of this stuff I have decades of experience with.
Right.
And when I got the letter that said we've decided to go with other more qualified candidates, I was like,
That was the
Right.
letter?
yeah, I would love to meet the person more qualified than me for this job. So I have to assume there were other factors that they can't
Yes.
legally say
Yeah.
were the reason.
Totally,
Um,
totally. I mean, because and that's such bullshit. Like, because the thing is that like to me that also seems like I don't know, either they had another candidate in mind or what, which fair enough, but like eh, you know, you, this is like a clear problem to me with like their recruiting systems. If you're going to take one of the foremost experts on all the things that they're looking for and be like, no.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I am one of the things that gives me pause. I mean, so the way I've always gotten work is usually based on something I had been working on in the previous year, and someone sees that and goes, "Hey, we want you over here." That's how I kind of like moved forward through journalism. It's how I ended up in what I'm doing now, which I've now been doing for more than 10 years. But I can see a world in which it's no longer possible for me to make a full living doing this work. I mean, we've had, I'm noticing we have fewer small contracts. I don't know that we'll have more of the really large contracts. That's been our bread and butter. And one of the things that really is like, oh man, I'm fucked. I'm strictly going to have to get whatever my next job is based on a relationship somehow, because if it's AI filtered and I don't have a high school diploma, I'm out before you get to anything else. Like, that's it. I'm gone. I'm not making it through. And that is humbling. It also pisses me off because I finally am at a point in my life. I mean, I've been there for maybe 12, 13 years, but where I didn't feel like that was going to be a liability ever. And in fact, I felt like just because of the trajectory it set me on, it was a strength. But I will say that when I got a job in public radio, no one there knew I didn't have a high school diploma, didn't go to college. And when my boss found out, she had a little bit of a, I hope my boss doesn't find out response to that. And so, like, I was able to just kind of skate through without anybody asking, because people were focused on the work I had done, and that's why they wanted to bring me in.
They just assume. They just make assumptions. And I mean, that's why usually a lot of places will say or equivalent experience, which is where you can kind of not be saying that you're lying, on your application stuff, because that's the thing you got to be careful about with things like that, is like, depending on what it asks, if you give incorrect information, then they can pull the offer when they do a background check and whatnot. And those background checks will try to verify, like education and whatnot. But it'll say like or equivalent. And if you have clearly the equivalent experience of, a bachelor's degree. Like that, like, obviously, you wouldn't claim like a higher degree than that, but like you
at least a high school diploma.
I would say.
What if do you think I could sneak through? Do you think I could sneak through listing the School of Hard Knocks?
No.
My college apparently doesn't have me on record as graduating. When Oracle did their background check on me, they're like, we cannot confirm. And I sent them a photo of my diploma, and they accepted that. But I never followed up with MCAD to see why.
Oh, it was MCAD.
Yeah.
That's art school in the Twin Cities, everybody.
Why would they not have me on record as having a Bachelor of Arts? But anyway, so mental health wise, I've been staying sane by coding, working on being self-sufficient, gardening. We've been planting some subsistence farming style crops, and watching movies. And I think we can go from there into.
First, we should do our sponsor break.
But Brett, when we're out of that, I know we have some Pitch Perfect top. I have so many questions about Mark III, and we can just do an episode on that next time.
So here's what I suggest. Give me, after the sponsor read, give me 3 minutes to tell you about Mark III. You can ask any questions.
No, 3 minutes. That becomes gratitude. I have so many questions.
3 minutes for me to tell you.
Oh, got it.
And then we'll do a follow-up.
And then you can ask all the questions you want. And then I definitely want to talk about Pitch Perfect and Step Up movies.
Well, we are an acapella podcast.
We are an acapella podcast.
Stupid we got this long.
Here's your cliffhanger. We'll be right back with all of this after these messages. Today's episode is sponsored by Insta360, a leader in 360-degree action camera technology. Their latest 360-degree camera, Insta360 X5, launched April 22nd and shoots a full 360-degree video in incredible 8K 30 resolution. Since it films in all directions at once, you don't even need to aim the camera. Just hit record, live in the moment, and choose any angle you want in the edit with Insta360's mobile app. It's easy, smooth, and packed with AI tools for a faster workflow. You can even get those impossible drone-like third-person shots using the invisible selfie stick that disappears from the final video. From immersive POVs to unique third-person shots, X5 is every camera you'll ever need in one. An efficient triple AI chip means seriously smooth performance, plus huge sensors and dedicated low-light shooting mode deliver unmatched detail and quality day and night. X5 also features Insta360's toughest ever lenses, which are completely replaceable so you can risk the shot with confidence. To bag a 114 centimeter invisible selfie stick worth $24.99 with your Insta360 X5 standard package purchase, head to store.insta360.com and use the promo code Overtired. This is available for the first 30 standard package purchases only. For more information, be sure to check out the links in our show notes. That's store.insta360.com and use the code Overtired. Okay.
One thing I'll note just real quickly about the Insta360 stuff, because I've used their stuff and it's really actually very good, is that invisible selfie stick. What they do there is they basically like have, I guess, it kind of programmed in like how their recording software works or whatnot, so that if you're using that particular stick, when you bring your video in, like literally the selfie stick just disappears. Like it's automatically taken out, like without having to do anything in like an editing app or whatnot. It's just like gone, which is
cool.
kind of badass.
Yeah.
I've seen like friends of mine, Richard Lawler from Engadget,
Yeah.
got a 360 degree camera and was posting like 360 shots to Facebook, and they were cool.
Yeah.
Like I was jealous. They were cool. I also kind of want a drone, but some things are just
Yeah, I mean, this
not.
one you don't have to get an FAA, like, granted, it's like a, a small license, but like you don't have to bother like with, oh, where can I use this? Where can I not? Like, that's the nice thing about it, is that because you wouldn't have this problem because you have like land and whatnot. But like, there are a lot of places, like if you live in an urban area, like I would love a drone. I would not be allowed to use a drone. And even a lot of parks and stuff like won't let you use them. But like, you can get similar shots to that if you have it like up high enough,
There you go.
because it'll go 360. So it's pretty fun.
What if I got a drone, I'd put a Ukrainian flag on it just to scare the shit out of anybody.
Ukrainian and a German flag.
And it's, oh yeah, okay. All right.
So here's what I've been working on. I have focused most of my development time on Marked, which is my premier. I don't know if that's the word I want, but it's the app I have that makes me the most money.
It's your flagship app right now. It's your flagship. App.
There you go. Until NV Ultra
until
comes
NV Ultra
out.
comes out, this is your flagship. Yeah.
So I have been focusing on Marked, which originally released at $3.99, and John Gruber immediately wrote about it, and I began making like $7,000 a month on it. At $3.99.
Mm-hmm.
And then time went on, sales slowly dwindled. Eventually, I added enough features to it that I considered it like a $15 app.
Yep.
Which it was. Easily.
It always was.
And so now, even today, it's $13.99, and I have customers that have been with me since they paid $4 for it and have never paid another dime, and have gotten
one of them is on this podcast.
over a decade of support from me.
Right.
And it's either time for a major version upgrade, a paid upgrade, or that I switch to subscription pricing. And I'm 99% decided that I'm going subscription, because like people who are anti-subscription say, if you're not paying for hosting, if you're not paying like your own monthly costs on something, you shouldn't charge a subscription. But I disagree, because if you are constantly putting in development and you want to just release new features as you develop them instead of saving up for one big yearly release, a subscription makes perfect sense. So I had decided I was going to price it at like $2.99 a month, with a 6 month and a yearly and a permanent unlock price. But Setup is about to roll out their single app plans.
I didn't know that.
Where they will handle the subscriptions for a single app instead of paying for all of Setup. But they have a minimum pricing of $4.99 a month for an individual app. And I thought, when when I tell you about what's about to happen in Mark, I think you'll agree that's a reasonable price. So what I've added, um, okay, so Mark has always had a docx export, and it has always been bullshit.
Right.
It is always basically just giving you an RTF file pasted into a docx file.
Yes.
It
Yes.
now, on my machine, will give you a fully structured Word file with styles, with headings, with list items. It can even import, it can turn word change tracking into critic markup, and it can
Wow.
Oh,
change
shit.
word highlights into colored highlights in your markdown using span tags.
Wow.
And it's bidirectional. You can open up a docx file in Marked,
Shut your dirty mouth.
save it as markdown, or save it as a new Word file with cleaned up syntax and cleaned up change tracking.
I'm just going to send you my credit card. The whole thing.
I also completely rewrote Scrivener integration.
Mm-hmm.
So up until now, Scrivener integration has always depended on a combination of Python and Ruby scripts to render a Scrivener file into a markdown document.
Right.
It is now completely done in native code. Lightning fast, handles all of Scrivener's additional syntax for highlights and callouts and footnotes, and everything is all handled and exportable as multi-markdown or GitHub flavored markdown. I also
Nice.
built in cram down and common mark processors into Mark. So you now have four processors to choose from. And what I'm working on right now is so you guys have used Hazel.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when you when you add a rule in Hazel and you get the criteria, like the predicate editor is what it's called in like Mac OS, and then you have your actions section. I have built that for Mark so that instead of a single custom processor, you can now use a predicate to base a decision on file name, extension path, what other files exist in the same directory or tree as a file, text content matches. There's about 20 things you could match on, and then based on those matches, you can run about 15 different actions. Everything from like normalizing headers, shifting headers, running commands, running processors, setting styles, adding metadata. You can do just about anything with zero code. You can do it all using a graphical interface to build out your own custom processors. So you can run different processors, even if you just wanted to run cram down for documents that existed in your blogs folder and multi markdown for things that existed in your work folder. That would take you 30 seconds to set that up in the custom rules builder. And then from then on, whenever you opened a file that met those criteria, the correct processor would just be run. So that is light years ahead of where Mark has been for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And I think it's worth some
You should
money.
call that shit Marked 5.
Yeah, I mean, you could. Yeah, you could. I was gonna say, bring it to six blades. If I can make an observation, and I know we want to talk about movies. It seems like, especially with the custom processing, pre-processing work and conversion work you've been doing, especially if you can like both like take this into, and I'm assuming and like you said, it's bidirectional, right? So not only can you put all that into nicely formatted Word stuff, but you can also take all the Word stuff and put that into Markdown, right?
Yeah.
Which is insane, by the way.
Right. Well, this is my point. I feel like there's an opportunity. You have the consumer product and Marked, and you can price that and figure out whatever the monthly or subscription price on that will be. But I feel like there's an opportunity with so many businesses and so many like firms needing to convert data into Markdown to interact with LLMs, that you should be licensing that to them directly from like an enterprise level or a business level.
I have already made it extractable. It can run on its own, and it could be sold as a library
Right, and that's what I'm saying.
without any of Mark's other proprietary code. It's a
Right.
completely separate library that
Excellent.
could be licensed or used, or I could build an app that literally just does word to markdown or word to word conversion.
No, totally. And what I'm saying though is that should be like a thing that you should be talking to like larger places about and like selling that like as its own thing, because I think not only are all these features great, and obviously like from having a GUI, there's great value there, but even as a library for people that are going to need to do RAG and other types of stuff, and they're going to need to convert lots of documents, they might not actually want to use a GUI. They might want to have a library so they can build their own
Mhm.
automated system, so they can, have like probably a web interface where people would upload a bunch of docs and it would, spit out the ensuing
Yeah.
text files so they can then submit them into their processes. But they don't want to spend the time, they're not what they build themselves is not going to be as good as what you've done because you're one of the experts in this. I'm just pointing out there that there's a market for that.
Yep.
With either to license the library for other people to build it into their stuff or to sell to people directly so that they can build it into their own internal systems.
My friend Kaylin, I don't know if you guys have ever used a label printer.
Yeah,
But
I
Yeah.
got one on
label-
my desk because I'm
Yeah.
400 years old.
Of course you do. But like, so there's this huge market for label printers for everything from co-ops to Walmart,
Mhm.
and there is like zero good software for
Oh
label
yeah,
printers.
It's
Like
less than
it-
zero. Yeah,
it's
less than zero.
awful. So
Also, the one I
Kaylin-
use is unfortunately called P-Touch. But go ahead. Like, what's up, brother? Like, how many meetings
So
did
Kaylin,
P-Touch make it through?
Well, they are
Sorry.
so
Kayla-
Japanese. They're so Japanese.
Good point. Good point. Sorry,
so,
Brett.
So Kaylin wrote universal printer label software. It's label something. Label Live. He wrote Label Live,
Ah,
and he sells it at a premium price because
Mhm.
there's literally no
Nothing.
competition. And he lives the most relaxed lifestyle because he's an amazing developer. He keeps his software up to date, and it takes him, I don't know, maybe an hour a day and then another hour a day of doing customer support. And he charges a premium price and makes enough to buy a house. And this
man.
is to Christina's point. Like, if you sell the right product to the right people, you can set yourself up. And I've just historically done a shit job of that.
Well, and the thing about like Word, right, is the reason I'm excited about that is because whenever I work with big big clients, I
Yep.
have to work in Word.
Yeah.
And so like those are the kind of, amazing.
Well,
Yeah.
and when I was started working on this when I was still at Oracle, and when I switched to the last manager I had, I started having to daily work with Word files, and people would send the most fucked up Word files to me for like editing, or even just as like, here's instructions for how to do a thing. I'm going to send you a docx file
Yep.
with a poorly formatted list in it. And so I began writing the software that would convert that into clean markdown, and then I could use Mark to output a clean PDF, and I would send it back to them and be like, here's what you sent me. 30 seconds later, here's an actual readable, usable version of it that doesn't require me to launch Microsoft Word.
To your knowledge, is there anybody that's gotten that markdown to docx export right? Because I've never seen it.
Ulysses has done a pretty good job.
Oh
with
yeah,
it.
I barely used it. Okay.
And I borrowed a lot from some of Ulysses' philosophies. I think my docx export is now better than Ulysses. I am confident in calling it a best in class markdown
Awesome.
to docx conversion. I like, for a while I played with the ability to convert CSS styles into Word styles.
Mm.
That gets messy.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I feel
and
like that's that.
unpredictable.
I also feel like that's a niche enough thing, to be completely honest with you, that like most people who are going to be doing that sort of styling, like this is
They
just my
already have
take.
their own templates.
Exactly. They only have their own templates. And so
Yeah.
what they really want is a way to get the base text
Uh-huh.
into
Yep.
Word, or to
Yeah.
get the base Word document into plain text. What they're
So,
not wanting to do is fuck with the formatting, because in many cases, like, and I
especially not in CSS.
no,
That's
well,
not how they want to do it.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say, when I've used Marked for some conversion stuff, I interestingly enough, for some LLM usage with some like coding stuff, where I've like basically taken a lot of HTML stuff and I've needed to have an easy way to kind of convert it, and I've either used command line tools or I've used Marked. Like, I've always turned off the export to like hide any style sheets, because I'm like,
Mhm.
for my purposes,
Yeah.
I don't want that, right? Like that's like it's fine if I'm looking at it visually
Yeah.
in the app, but like that's not
Yeah.
what I'm here for.
So what I did was just build in a bunch of like well-designed custom styles. Like there's like 5.
Yeah.
And you can choose a well-designed custom style that'll look great in Word, but it's like 100% designed so that when you open it in Word, you open up your theme palette, you pick a theme and it works. It just applies it to everything. Which is my assumption that most people who are required to work in Word
Yeah.
also have corporate style
Yeah.
guidelines
I would say
and
that,
and like
yes.
and themes that they have to use.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, headers and footers also translate from
Oh,
Marked,
wow.
and you can set headers and footers in metadata in your Markdown file, and it'll translate into a styled header in Word. Anyway, enough about Marked. That was fun. Thank
It's
you.
awesome. Can't wait to
Um,
try it.
yeah, I look forward to this release. So the other thing that has kept me sane is movies.
Yeah.
And I started with Pitch Perfect, which I think was inspired by listening
Yes.
when I was editing the last episode and listening to you guys talk about acapella, and the only experience I have with acapella is the Pitch Perfect movies. And I
Yeah.
had seen them all previously, but I decided, what the hell? I'm going to watch them all again. So
They're
I
great.
watched them in the wrong order. I watched them 2, 3, 1, which kind of skewed my perspective on how good they were by saving the best for last like
Yep.
that. But it was fun. And I was texting with Christina and Brian while doing this, getting opinions and feedback. And that was cool. And then for some reason, I decided to get into the Step Up movies. And again, I fucked up the order. I started with Step Up 2,
No.
skipped to Step Up Revolutions,
No.
then did 3, then did 1.
You gotta do
I
one
don't know
first
why I
always.
do this to myself.
No, and here's
Like,
the thing, like
obviously.
right. And the thing is like the Step Up movies have their charm, and like I can like defend most of them, but like the original, like Channing Tatum like movie, like it was far better than it ever had any right to be when it came out, and like it
Uh-huh.
holds up far better than it has any right to, but like, yeah, don't start with the sequel. The sequel, I would argue, is like the weakest of the Step Up films. I actually think that the second one
But
is the weakest.
I think it was a masochistic, like, I want to watch a shitty movie.
Yes. Now I
So
will
I'm
say
gonna
this.
start with number 3.
Now I will say this. Magic Mike is one of those series that you can't do in a wrong order, actually. Like, I actually think that
Oh,
like the
I
Magic
should do that.
you should actually, because like the first one is a Soderbergh film, and it's actually like, of all of them, it's like probably like the most movie. And then Magic Mike XXL or whatever, I loved. And I saw that in Pitch Perfect 2. Like, it's the same movie as Pitch Perfect 2. I think the Magic Mike 2 is far more successful. And then the third one it's just a great time. So yeah, that should be another one that you should like Last Dance. Like, you should
Yeah,
just
for
like
sure. I love Channing Tatum.
yeah, but also like that's another series where it's like far better, to step up. Like, it's far better than it has any right to be. But yeah.
Side note, Channing Tatum showed up in the last episode of Welcome to Wrexham,
Uh-huh.
which is
Rob
I need to watch that.
McEnry and Ryan Reynolds show.
McElhaney and
McElhaney, yeah.
Um
He's
it-
now just Rob
and
Mack,
he
so we can just
showed-
call him that now.
Rob Mack
Mhm.
and Ryan Reynolds, and they own a soccer team, and Magic Mike shows up and does Magic Mike moves in the locker room,
Amazing.
shaking his fucking nuts in front of the soccer players.
Oh, it's like a Jesus salute
Like,
show.
literally, like, one of them's on the bench and he's on the hands on the ground, feet up on either side of the guy's head against the locker, just shaking. and it's hilarious. I love that guy. Um,
This
but
is where I feel like, not having seen the movie, this is where I feel like the mushrooms have kicked in for you, because somehow I drifted for just a second and we went from acapella to a guy's nuts.
the movie that made me the happiest, watching all of these movies that I enjoyed in like the 90s
Yeah.
and the early 2000s, there was a movie called Stick It with
Okay.
Missy Peregrym, and I fell in love with
Oh, yeah, I
her.
remember this. I remember this movie.
This movie, I had such a crush on her after I saw this
Yeah, oh,
movie.
yeah, this was from the Bring It On director, which makes complete
Yeah.
sense because, in
Oh,
my
Bring It
opinion,
On, another favorite of mine.
yes. Now, I will
Yes.
say this: Bring It On, the sequels, no, like don't even
No,
try. They're all direct to
absolutely
video.
not. Absolutely not.
However, I've made this argument before, and since you have now watched all the Pitch Perfects, maybe you'll agree with me. Pitch Perfect 1 and Bring It On 1, the exact same movie.
Very close. Yes.
And that is not a pejorative. That is not like a. I'm not saying that in a negative way. Like when and that clicked with me when I saw Pitch Perfect 1 in the theater, and I was like, holy shit, this is acapella, like Bring It On.
Bring
And
It On.
I and,
Yep.
and I mean that in the highest possible compliment, because I think Bring It On is a perfect teen movie for what it attempts to be. Like the level of, like, like
This
that was the
isn't a
first time
democracy, it's a
Cheerocracy, exactly. But not only that, but like they showed, like, actually talented, obviously in that
Mhm.
case it was
Yeah.
extras, but like actually talented cheerleading moves, where like Pitch
Mhm.
Perfect, you see actually talented singers.
Mhm.
In Step Up, you see actually talented dancers
Actually
again.
talented dancers.
And like
Yep.
that's the thing for me with these movies. I'm like, okay, and I don't really care, like, if you're having to, like, it for both Step Up and Pitch Perfect, it's the actors themselves, but I don't even care if you're getting, extras in on it. Like, just show me the real fucking talent. Like, that
Mhm.
elevates the whole thing to me, because I'm like, yes, I love to see how this all comes out at the end.
I owned the first Bring It On VHS, on DVD. I own it on iTunes. Like, I have owned it in every format it's been released in, I think.
Wait,
But
what's the longest series any of us own on iTunes or on?
Back to the Future is probably,
Wait,
I don't,
that's only
it's a
3.
Yeah,
trilogy.
I
It's
was
the
gonna
longest
say,
I own.
I've got like all the Mission Impossible films.
Oh, I do own all the Harry Potters, but not
Yeah,
because I like them,
right,
because my ex-wife bought them and left them on my account.
right. Yeah,
I beat Christina by a little bit because mine is Fast and Furious.
oh, I had those too. I don't know how that. I don't have the
You
latest
own
two.
Okay.
them?
I
Yes,
own all of them.
they sell them in these. They have these sales from time to time where you can
Yeah,
get like all of
it's
them for
on
like 30
right now.
bucks.
You can on iTunes. It's like $29.99 for
That's
all
what I'm
I
of
saying.
have
them.
Dom's car
They
as a
they have
popcorn
Yes.
holder
Oh my gosh.
they have
on display
you
in
can
my
buy
Fuck
office.
you
yes.
can buy all the Mission Impossibles for a bundle price right
Right.
now
Yeah.
too.
That's how I buy.
Love
I have
those.
I have like literally like a couple thousand movies on iTunes because of the bundles. Like,
Yeah.
people, like, that's
Yeah, no, I
why.
do that. I'll be
Bundles
like,
are
I
amazing.
have $30 to spend. Let's go see what's
Actually,
Oh
you
yeah,
know what?
sick day.
Remind me on this, because I have an app for that I will use as my gratitude. Actually.
awesome. All right, so anyway, Stick It with Missy Peregrym, excellent movie. It doesn't have the thrill of like dance troops, or it's gymnastics, right?
Yeah, which is
And
still fucking great.
yeah, and you see some amazing gymnasts, some amazing moves, and the kind of the like friction in it isn't contrived the way like the Step Up sequels
Yeah.
had real like just contrived friction in them, and like the
Yeah.
whole hook was like dance was not the answer for these problems, and
No,
they shoehorned
they did,
dance into being the answer, but
but it still works.
in Stick It, like the problem is gymnastic judges and the answer is gymnastics, and it is team like collusion, and it works. It's really good.
Christina, I was listening to the Hard Fork podcast and
Uh-huh.
they were talking about Google I/O, and one of them mentioned seeing the Google acapella group rehearsing in a hallway.
Oh
What
wow.
the hell is that?
I
They have one?
I mean, I'm not surprised. I think Microsoft
Yeah.
did too, but okay, cool. Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
why not?
Why
I just
not?
had to add that in. It's all I can add. It's
No,
I
that's
was-
amazing, because I was at Google I/O. I wish I had seen that. If I had seen that, I would have taken video and I would have been like, "What's up, guys?" Like,
I was a
Yeah.
fan of the
love
Oracle
my
acapella
podcast.
group, but they were all like 60 years old. So
yeah,
they
that's
kinda,
that's the thing. Like, you're never sure on those things. I'm like, okay, are you, like, like, are we like my age or younger? Because I would hope that it would be people younger than me, because that would make me feel better about myself. But like, you're like, did you come in like, did Pitch Perfect and the sing off and did those things get you interested like when you were in middle
Right.
school, and then like that's why you did this, or are you a nerd like me who like are the people who led to like the book that inspired Pitch Perfect? Oh, that's another thing you should do, Brett. You should read the book that Pitch
Yeah.
Perfect was based off of. It's a
Yeah.
good book. Yeah, it's by a guy.
Okay.
It's by a fucking New Yorker author.
All right.
Mickey Rapskin. He like followed like the world of collegiate a cappella in like 2009 or something, and then wrote a book about it, and then that was adapted into Pitch Perfect.
Will
That is
you throw
amazing.
a link to that book in
I
the
sure
show
will.
notes if you
You'll
think
also
about it?
notice it in last week's show notes.
Oh,
I'm sorry,
really?
the last episode. I don't know if it made it in the show notes, but it was mentioned.
I
Maybe
might
it
have
didn't
missed
make it
it.
in the show
Okay.
notes.
Cool. All right, should we do some
I just want to point out that particular a cappella book has now been pitched in 2 of our.
I was gonna
Which
say,
is
look,
awesome.
well, look.
pitched? That's funny.
Pitched.
I was gonna
Oh.
say, I was like, you purchased a Kindle edition on August 11th, 2009.
All right, should we do some gratitude?
Let's do it.
Sure.
I can kick it off.
Yeah,
if
kick it off.
that's- If that's cool. So in the process of working on Marked and some of my other projects, I tried out Cursor.
It's really good.
And I know you guys talked a little bit about vibe coding recently, and I'm not personally doing vibe coding, although I have seen some good products come out of vibe coding.
Yeah.
Respectable applications being developed. A friend of mine, friend of the show, Rabbi Eric Linder, friend of the show because he's a friend. He was on Systematic. He released.
He's been on this show.
Has he?
Yeah, I think you and I had him on when Christina couldn't be on once.
He released an iOS app that he built entirely with AI. But I've been using it because like GitHub Copilot is outstanding. And especially when I'm working in Ruby, I have found it I start typing DEF, which is how you sort of function in Ruby. I type
Right.
DEF and it fucking knows the function I'm about to write without even writing a comment. It's just like it's there in light gray text. I hit tab and the function I was thinking of, for whatever reason, it predicted
knows.
what I was going to need next. And Cursor is much the same as using like a conversation mode in GitHub Copilot.
Yep.
I have enjoyed with Cursor using Claude Sonnet. I have gotten really good results, and it has written entire sections of code for me that honestly, like it takes. I'll come up with an idea and I'll flesh it out in Cursor, and it'll take me an hour to debug the code it wrote. But that code would have taken me easily 5-6 hours to write on my own.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's the perfect way I think of using that. Please try the Gemini 2.5 Pro model in place of Claude, and because I'm not just saying that because I work at DeepMind. The models are finally getting good, and I would be curious about your feedback. They do nerf how big the context window is a little bit, because the context window on Gemini 2.5 Pro is significantly larger than on Claude 3.7. I don't know for Claude 4. I think it still is, but give it a shot. I'd just be curious. Your thoughts.
And then the other half of my gratitude would be an app called CoTypist for Mac. And CoTypist is think of it as AI for text expander. Anywhere you're typing, it's so Apple recently introduced like their AI writing tools,
right?
And like when you're in messages, it tries to predict what you're gonna write. It's never correct for me. Like it's always in the wrong tone. It's always the wrong sentiment. It's never what I actually want to say. But CoTypist is amazingly good predictive text. And when you use CoTypist in Cursor, it will literally write your prompts for you.
Oh, wow.
You'll start writing, this is what I want to accomplish. And then you'll start, like, it'll name variables. It'll name method names. It'll give you file names just by typing the first couple letters. and it'll complete all of the things you need to write a really detailed, really actionable prompt in Cursor. CoTypist will handle 50% of that workload for you.
That's
So the
awesome.
combination of CoTypist and Cursor has cut my development time by 90%.
That's
Wow,
awesome.
it's amazing.
That's it. That's it for me.
Love it.
I'll go next. This is just a kind of a we were talking about like iTunes prices and deals and stuff. There is an app. It is actually available in the App Store on Google Play and on the web, and it is called Cheap Charts. And so if you go to cheapcharts.com or cheapcharts.info, you can access it. And basically, it is a tracker, is a way for you to track like a wish list of all of, like the movies or TV shows. Or
Ew.
if you use the website, you can also use video games for like the Xbox or PlayStation or the Switch. But you can also do things like books, I think, and audiobooks, like basically any of the stuff that Apple offers. You can create your own playlist. This is actually cool because last year, maybe 2 years ago, Apple got rid of the ability to have a wish list feature in iTunes, and like people were really upset about that. You can still maintain this on Cheap Charts, and they will like the app will update, or you can choose to get notifications or not, or you can get an email when the price comes down. And so you can basically view what the price is, what the historical price trend has been. So should I buy this now or not, right? Like 4.99 is as low as any movie goes on iTunes for a one-off. But bundles can vary in prices. So maybe like, okay, well, this bundle is $30. Do I want to get this, or is there a shot looking at historical price trends that it might go down to, $20? You can make that decision, right? Like I think 30 is usually a pretty good mark, but sometimes you'll see things even for like one day. Like sometimes I'll get notifications and I'll be like, this, like $100 box set is $15. And I know it'll only be on sale for like a day, if that, and I'll just immediately buy it. So cheapcharts.com is great. I'm a big fan. And the website version can also work on Fandango and Google Play and Amazon. I don't use it with those services. I just use it with iTunes, but because that's like my source of truth, and then I use the Movies Everywhere, Movies Anywhere service rather, to port them to other platforms if they're part of the studio consortium there. But yeah, this is a free app. They also cover things like for gift card deals and stuff like that. And I'm a huge fan. So Cheap Charts, I've been using it for years. They're good people. Their iTunes app or their iOS app. There's a test flight that's often available to join. Which I'm in, and they update pretty frequently. And like they do a really good job.
It's super
Nice.
interesting. I'm looking at the price history for the Dwayne the Rock Johnson picture Snitch.
Yeah.
And it is super interesting to see how it just has this drumbeat of going from $9.99 to $4.99, $9.99 to $4.99. It's just super interesting to see like the kind of see the logic of the history of that. Huh.
Yeah, totally. And then like it's interesting because like I don't know what the other stores do, because like I said, I primarily know the iTunes store because that's my point of truth. But they have but like there will be sales like Memorial Day is usually a big sale. 4th of July, there's often sometimes like summer things, some stuff around like day after Thanksgiving and Christmas time, where like I will notice that there will be either really big brand new bundles of movies that they haven't done before, or there will be just big price cuts. And so, I have some movies that have been like in my, queue or on my wish list for a long time, and I'm just like waiting for them to drop because I'm like, I'm not going to pay 14.99 for Hackers, which for some reason I don't
Right.
have in iTunes, but I will pay 4.99 for it, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and what I find myself doing, and like so because of this app, it's a free app, but I've spent so much money because of it. Like I don't trust the services to keep things on them at all.
Mhm.
Like even
Right.
like I don't trust
Yeah.
HBO Max, which is now HBO Max again. I don't
Yeah,
trust
which
them,
is amazing.
which is amazing. But like I don't trust them to keep like Oz and The Wire and Sex and the City and The Sopranos. Like I don't actually trust that they will keep them on those networks, like on their streaming platform in perpetuity, even though they own the shows. Like you would think, oh yeah, I can just rely on this. I don't, right? Because David Zaslav sucks. And so like if I see that like the complete series of The Sopranos drops to $50, I might buy that, right? Like same thing if things like Hacks and other shows like Succession, like if I can get, good prices on it, like for me, I guess I'm playing a little bit of a game of chicken because I'm betting that iTunes will keep the content playable longer than the streaming services will. But I that bet is paid off. It's been like 21, 22
It has
years. So
definitely paid off. Yeah.
so
And
you
I'm
know,
amazed.
So here's my thought. Yes, do exactly what you're doing. Archive using iTunes, but then grab the torrents and
yes.
save your own digital
Oh,
copy because you
yes.
paid for
Oh,
it
I
and
agree,
you
and I
should have
do, and I
access
do, and
to.
I do that, right? But many times it's just like the convenience of like having it in like,
Mhm. Oh,
Apple TV,
absolutely.
like
Yeah.
is just better than having to deal with Plex, and I love
Yeah.
Plex.
Yep.
But
Yep.
no, I fully agree with you. But yeah, I'm a big fan of cheap charts. So if you are
Once
somebody who
once I
still
bought
buys digital media, yeah,
once I bought Stick It on iTunes, I also grabbed the torrent
hell
and now
yeah,
it's on my Plex as well.
hell
Rule
yeah.
1, pay the man. Rule 2,
I paid the
steal it
man.
out of the man's
Paid the
Well, no,
man.
pocket.
rule two is have multiple backups, right? Like we are all like a
Yeah.
multi-backup strategy family, right? And that
Yep.
means
Yep.
that
Yeah.
like I think that of all the companies, because like Sony did that thing last year where they like got rid of everybody's movies that they purchased on PlayStation, which was fucking bullshit. And I was like,
Oh,
I'm
really?
glad,
That's fucked
yeah,
up.
it is fucked up. And I was like, okay, well, I'm glad I never like bought any media from them, right? And I feel like, Amazon, Microsoft, Apple are probably going to be the three that will be the best for that. And I would put Apple very top, but just because the institution, the backlash that they would get, I think if they remove people's library content would be
Yeah.
astronomical. But it will be one. There will be come a day where they'll be like, no, we're not going to do this, and that's when the torrent downloads will save us all.
Yeah. Yeah. Fuck the man.
Fuck the man, indeed.
All right, Jeff, what you got?
Well, mine is kind of funny. It's an app that you can't get called ScanScript. Does that sound familiar, Brett? Because
It
I have
does.
had, as I mentioned in the last episode, I have had the great fortune of being able to vibe code with Brett Terpstra, where Brett Terpstra is like the vibe coding service. And
So good.
Brett, you and I do qualitative research, and that requires a lot of really expensive, like super locked down software, and it's really complex to use. And I had this sort of vision for being able to share single transcripts or a set of transcripts with like a client who I was doing interviews on behalf of or analysis on behalf of, and I wanted them to be able to, like, I'm big on helping clients kind of learn how to do qualitative analysis. And so Brett and I did this thing, and by Brett and I mean Brett, but I was vibe coding, where like, and Brett successfully created this like prototype where you can load up a transcript, you can load up I think you used HTML5 for this, which is awesome, right?
Nice.
Like you can load up the audio file.
Yeah,
and,
right.
And then once you've done that, you have the transcript open. You can click anywhere in the transcript and the audio file plays at that point. You can do highlighting. You can highlight just proper nouns, which is always really important for like de-identifying a transcript. But anyway, at the time when I was imagining, and this is why I've revisited it, was like, like you could have an elementary classroom that could learn qualitative coding with this really basic thing where you just have one transcript and you have all the basic tools you would need that are in a, $1,000 a year piece of qualitative analysis software. And so, Brett, I revisited that. I fired it back up this last week, and man, it's so cool. And I love it. And maybe one day we can vibe code a qualitative app.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Awesome.
ScanScript. And then I'd like to also just like rep my new app from Vibe Coding, which is just in my on my computer locally that I talked about last time, but I keep creating.
Yes.
Is this thing I've always wanted to be able to just like pull up a bunch of transcripts that are in markdown files,
Yes.
do a search for a term, and have it start popping up results in context. And so I keep adding features thanks to whatever the fuck it is that I use. Whatever .new, why can't I remember? Bolt, not
which is
new.
great. Yeah.
I got features now where like I can say, give me 20 words of context on either side, right? Or I can say 10, or I can say 30. It's a lot of beautiful shit. But now I've been able to, when I meet with clients and they're asking me questions from the interviews, in the past, I would always have to kind of look at my coded segments. But now I can just do this super quick, like type in a word and I see not only how many times it appears, how many times in how many documents, but I get the contextual sort of results, and I can just quickly kind of answer questions, which, by the way, Brett, is how I used Envy Alt in the very, very beginning was I was a reporter and I had all these calls out to people
Yep.
and I didn't know who was going to call back when. And so I would keep little lists of questions in there so that I could just super quick type in a keyword and I would get that list of questions for that person. And so it's that kind of like that thing of like just the super quick, but in context. That's the thing that's so helpful to
You
me.
use Devon Think, don't you?
I do use Devon Think, yeah.
Have you used Devon Think 4 with the AI integration?
Yeah, it's pretty bananas.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'll
but I
that'll
can't
be a
run it in
pick
my
of mine
browser.
again another week. But
Anyway, that's all. Thank
All
you,
right.
Brett, for vibe coding with me long before anyone knew what vibe coding was. We were doing it.
I'm happy to be your Gemini. Well,
I think of you as my Claude.
Aw.
All right.
Thank you guys for showing up.
Of course.
Our goal, we have a sponsor lined up for the next 3 weeks after this.
Great.
So our goal here is to do 4 weeks in a row.
That's an invisible selfie stick every week, everybody.
Woohoo.
It is actually, yes. So we will hope to see you all again next week. Thanks for listening.
See you all next week.
You guys get some sleep.
Get some
Get
sleep.
some sleep.
The system is going down now.